Are people using cancer to kill South American leaders? How is cancer affecting Latin America? And are we going to read your listener mail on air? We'll answer these questions and more right now. That's Matt, I'm Ben. This is Stuff They Don't Want You to Know. You can turn back now or learn the stuff they don't want you to know. So in our series on Hugo Chavez, we covered two things: the short-lived coup in 2002 and Chavez's death from cancer. Was it an unfortunate contraction of a disease, or was it an assassination attempt? Let's do some statistics about cancer and how it's affecting Latin America. Cancer accounted for 1.2 million deaths in 2008 throughout the Americas, so North, Central, and South. 45% of that 2 million occurred in Latin America and the Caribbean. The number of cancer deaths in the Americas is projected to increase from 1.2 million to 2.1 million between 2008 and 2030. So a third of these could be prevented by avoiding the usual risk factors: smoking, drinking excess, etc. Many of these cancers have a high chance of being cured depending upon when they're first detected. In 2011, when Chavez first contracted cancer, he famously pointed out in a very, I'm just saying, kind of way, that it was strange that so many South American leaders did contract cancer. We mentioned this in our earlier episode. We wanted to give you a little more information. Hugo Chavez, of course, was sarcoma. Dilma Rousseff, axillary lymphoma, and that's a Brazilian leader. Her predecessor, another Brazilian leader, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, contracted throat cancer. Fidel Castro had stomach cancer. Nestor Kirchner was rumored to have colon cancer, but the government said this was misdiagnosed. Juan Manuel Santos with prostate cancer. Fernando Lugo with lymphoma. Evo Morales with navel cancer. Now, Evo Morales was very close to Hugo Chavez, and Morales, president of Bolivia, recently came out and said that he also believes Chavez was poisoned somehow. So what's the evidence here? In what way at all could cancer be purposefully given to someone? Well, we do know that the United States has experimented with unethical medical practices in South America before, notably in 1946 to 1948. Donald G. McNeil Jr., writing for the New York Times, pointed out that American public health doctors deliberately infected nearly 700 Guatemalans. These were mental patients, these were soldiers, these were prisoners with venereal disease, as an effort to test the effectiveness in penicillin. And we have another piece of proof that maybe most of the United States government is kind of in the dark about what our intelligence agencies may be doing. For instance, the Church Committee, which you'll recognize from investigations into other opaque government dealings, they famously exhibited a CIA poison dart gun to highlight the committee's discovery that the CIA directly violated a presidential order by maintaining stocks of shellfish toxin sufficient to kill thousands. Now, none of these absolutely prove that there's some sort of cancer gun or cancer weapon, some sort of weaponized cancer. And we should point out that almost all of these leaders have different forms of cancer. Cancer is by no means a single disease. It's more of a broad term for several groups of things. But we do know that there were some less than honest practices in the past and some nefarious activities. A little bit of context about life under Chavez. Well, for the poor of Venezuela, and keep in mind Venezuela had very rampant inequality pre-Chavez. For the poor, in some ways, this was an advantageous rule. The World Bank itself, who is not exactly buddy-buddy with Hugo Chavez, reports that poverty dropped by 30% from 1995 to 2005, and extreme poverty dropped from 32% to 19%. Now, of course, as we're saying, this was by no means perfect. Infrastructure decayed, crime rose, the currency devalued, all under Chavez. There were also charges of state-sanctioned discrimination, by which we mean silencing opponents, political parties, oppositional media, and government spending was opaque at times. The point is this: If you were impoverished before Chavez came to power, then during his time in power, you were less likely to be impoverished. So he wasn't the perfect ruler. Was he a dictator? Arguably so. And was he popular with the people of Venezuela? Certainly. So the last thing we want to do is a little bit of listener mail. We were lucky enough to receive a good old-fashioned email from listener Amata K. We hope you're watching. We love this letter. It's pretty long though, so I'm just going to check out some highlighted parts that tie into some other stuff we're doing. Amata is writing to us and saying some very, very kind things. Thank you. It always makes our day and brings up one issue. The only issue I have, says Amata, is that you do not really go into that much detail into your shows. For instance, the Philadelphia Project episode left out a lot of things like people being reanimated into parts of the ship when the ship came back from whatever it is that it entered. I think that's a great point. Amata, Matt and I agree with you. We do want to have more detail in our shows. Now, I can't say too much right now other than we do hear you guys and we are working on it. So definitely stay tuned. So Amata adds some suggestions. With that said, I have some suggestions of things I'd like to see you guys cover. Time travel, wormholes, the idea of higher consciousness. He's going to go into more of this in detail. But keep that in your mind, guys, time travel. And he then describes an experience I'll read a little bit of to you guys. Ever since I was a little boy, says Amata, I have had episodes where I would slowly drift to sleep, but not completely. In this state, I have had visions, sensations, such as feeling wind, touches, or even hearing voices. I would have to try to wake myself up before the darkness or shadows engulf me. I have met many people that have had the same experiences. Those are usually the people that have experienced what I have to say next. And I know it's such a tease, but we're not going to say what he has to say next right now because I wanted to get 2 points on that before we get out of here. First, some people will tell you that what you are experiencing could be attributed to sleep apnea, or sleep paralysis rather. And this means that while your mind is in a certain state, your body may be unresponsive. You literally feel paralyzed. Another thing here is the idea that while you're in this state, this gray area between waking and sleeping, you're experiencing unbidden visions or sensations. That's very interesting, and that's going to tie in to next week's series. You wrote to us, and numerous people have asked for the same topic, so by God, we're going to cover it. Stay tuned for time travel. Thanks so much. You can find us on Twitter, you can drop us a line on Facebook, and we'd always love to hear from you with our email address, conspiracy@discovery.com. If you would like to learn more about the concept of manufactured diseases, from venereal disease to claims about HIV, be sure to check out our classic episode, which we're publishing on our new channel on Saturday. That's about manufactured diseases. Let us know what you think.